Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of the Arctic Odyssey. So a quick recap. My girlfriend Sam and I had just managed to fly to the land of fire and ice. I managed to get my portable airplane through TSA and had just knocked out my first paramotor flight among glaciers, mountains, waterfalls, and black sand beaches. We'd already seen more waterfalls in 2 days than I'd seen in my entire lifetime combined, and although our dreamy Icelandic getaway was off to a hot start, our shiny blue camper van that we called home during our stay had just broke down. Not ideal for my first time across the pond. After blowing a shock, our suspension became unbearable. While it'd be easy to let car problems devastate your entire trip, if I had to pick anywhere in the world to break down, this might be the exact spot to do it. We hunkered down by this neat waterfall while I chatted with cuckoo campers about resolving the issue. Their motto was, "Don't worry, be sexy." But cell reception was spotty and we hadn't showered in days. Joking aside, they were great to deal with and asked us to limp the van to a nearby town, and we quickly swapped it out with a new and improved Mercedes. We both had a much better feeling about this van, and I'm not sure if it was the fact we were driving towards an active volcano or the famous Icelandic hot dogs, but our day just got a whole lot better. We spotted some elf houses that are hidden all across Iceland, and eventually arrived at what I'd call a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. When we arrived, we'd heard about this new volcano that had just erupted, and I immediately knew we had to check it out, even if it was a 10-mile hike into a vast, desolate lava field of volcanoes past. Iceland will truly make you feel like you're on another planet the second you step off the plane. And getting to experience this is one of the hardest things I've ever put into words. To witness the wrath of lava being flung hundreds of feet in the air, to feel the heat radiating off the lava tubes, and to smell the sulfuric gases that filled the air, I was awestruck. We snacked and FaceTimed our parents and spent a good hour or so just gazing out at the red-hot liquid spewing from the mouth of this brand new volcano. Close up to the lava flow, you could see the embers glowing a fiery orange, and rock slides would come crashing down as the lava field pushed outwards and expanded. It's amazing, really. We were among thousands of people that made the long trek to see history being written right in front of our eyes. And for me, this is single-handedly one of the coolest natural phenomenons I've ever been fortunate enough to experience. I could have sat there all night, and seeing the lava illuminate the surrounding landscape probably would have been worth it, but we were both beyond exhausted, and the temps were starting to drop fast. As incredible as this hike was, all good things must come to an end, but we also couldn't wait to climb back into our toasty camper van and call it a night. It felt like we hadn't slept since we landed in Iceland, and that was starting to catch up with us. We drove a few hours back to an area that I wanted to fly that evening and spent most of the morning just relaxing in our new and improved van. There's really nothing more peaceful than taking a nap with a glacial stream a few feet from your front door. With more time to kill, we drove back to the Vic area to knock out some smaller casual hikes. It seemed like we had all these places entirely to ourselves, and it was nice not having to rush anywhere so we could finally loosen up and act a little goofy.
Had no lies that I had you. You had me, honey.
You've probably noticed I haven't even attempted to pronounce some of these Icelandic destination names. Most of them I'd undoubtedly butcher, but we stopped at this restaurant called Gamla Fjósið that served up the best food I think I've ever had in my entire life. It was a fun-filled afternoon, and we pointed the van back towards the legendary Thors to meet back up with the gang. We received a formal paramotor escort, and I was excited to finally get some flying in with this motley crew. I wasted no time getting my gear laid out, and within minutes, I was joining them in the sky. It was a pretty dark and gloomy flight, but that's an accurate representation of Iceland the majority of the time. you get some moody skies, but the air was butter smooth, and I quickly found myself hovering above the braided glacial streams below. Iceland is famous for its thousands of waterfalls, but for some reason, every new waterfall I floated past left me speechless. Anytime you're in an area where humans are outnumbered by waterfalls 50 to 1, chances are you're in a good place. It was pretty late, and we were running out of light by the minute, but this flight was an excellent intro to what we'd experience the following morning of flying. Just being able to get up close to these mountainous walls and being able to throw wingovers alongside these magnificent waterfalls made this flight better than I could have dreamed of. I definitely felt more comfortable flying a place like this with friends, and after flying over these icy blue glaciers, I think we were all just cold enough to head back and hang our helmets up for the night. We debriefed over some Icelandic beverages and came up with a game plan for the next morning of indescribable flying. In what felt like the blink of an eye, we rose with the sun to do it all over again. What in the world? My chase cam just came untied. Yeah, I don't even know how I caught that. But what are the odds I tie it so that it's even remotely level? And an extra knot just for good measure. Okay. The name Thorsmork actually translates to Thors Valley. Yes, like the mythological god of thunder, and with zero effort at all, it lives up to its really cool name. This whole area is sandwiched between two glaciers, being carved by the confluence of 3 rivers. It has 2 new volcanic craters from eruptions in 2010, and the caves, river crossings, and endless canyons to bomb down are more than enough to satisfy any explorer. I flew up higher to scope out the lay of the land and decide which canyons I wanted to fly. There was just so much to see, and our flight window was only so big. Eventually, I made it to the base of one of the glaciers and went in for a better view. The sheer size and jaggedness of this slow-flowing river of ice was intimidating, and the waterfalls just made this scene all the more otherworldly. While parts of these flights I'm sure look risky to some, we were blessed with some of the smoothest air I've ever flown in. We also had apps on our phones to track each other's location, and we did a great job of keeping each other within sight. There is always some chances you have to take in every aspect of life, and I was well within my personal comfort zone, making Thorsmork some of the best flying I've ever experienced in my life. And I'm honored to have equally adventurous friends to share these memories with. There are few things more enjoyable than floating down a canyon with these towering moss-covered walls. All of the tight turns are always an adrenaline rush when you can't see what's around the next corner, even when you scope the whole thing out from above beforehand. The Valley of Thor was an epic way to really open up the flying trip with this group of rowdy pilots. And it was about this time I was kicking myself for ever being hesitant when Hillary shot me the daily reminder to book that flight to Iceland. Shout out to Hillary for giving me the push I needed. Iceland always seemed out of reach. A mere dream. Too dangerous, too expensive, too much of a logistical nightmare. But these were all excuses. Luckily, a little ambition goes a long ways. And the reward, after pulling off the seemingly impossible, is one of the greatest feelings ever. Also, a huge shout out to the photography wizard Joe Odyssey for nailing some of the most incredible flying shots. It's always a pleasure to find myself on the other end of his camera lens. Way too much fun was had, and almost all the canyons were explored. Now, I don't know much about erosion, but I think it's safe to say that these canyons were carved by paramotors. Stay tuned for the next one. Thanks for watching.